Joined now by Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports Vertical. Rob, the hockey guy on Twitter. Rob, the shiny helmet guy, for the purposes of this hit. We were promised a shiny helmet in January 2024, Rob. We're running out of days for shiny helmets here. And how do you think shiny helmets will go over?
They've been last second with a lot of these announcements. They just announced the Pride game festivities like a few days before.
You think that was by design?
I don't know, Rob.
I was asking about the Pride Night plans because remember last year, like everything kind of got pushed right to the end. But no, I think they gave it an appropriate amount of time for Pride Night festivities. We are assuming shiny helmets. All we got was a cryptic tweet with a sort of silhouette helmet, something or other. I'm expecting blue chrome, but I don't know. I suppose it could be a lot of different things. They could do, they've got the matte black helmets for the skate, so I would imagine they'd go for another different kind of helmet for the black skate jerseys. So I'm assuming that we get some sort of chrome blue helmet. They have only played, we're well into January, so it's sort of, we kind of forgot about it, but they've only played the one home game early on against Ottawa, and went on that big long road trip, of course. So my question is, well, when do we see these new helmets? Do we see them tonight against Arizona? I bet you we see it against the Leafs on Saturday. Hockey night in Canada. Canucks get to make a big splash on the feature game. Although I must say, I don't know if people have caught on to this. I looked at the television listings coming up this weekend. Canucks Leafs is not on CBC. It's Montreal Boston on CBC, and you've got to go to Sportsnet to catch Canucks Leafs. So I don't know if they're trying to sell a few more subscriptions there, or what they're after.
Downside both of them being on at the same time, I guess, but a little bit odd. Two Canadian teams you'd think would play to Canada a little bit more.
They've always that game is always on CBC traditionally, and it's hockey day in Canada. So
right.
I don't know if they're squeezing the public there for a little bit of extra money, or what they're trying on hockey day in Canada of all days. But I thought that was a little bit interesting.
Two-part question here. Number one, our poll question: who deserves the most credit for the Canucks turnaround? Rutherford, Allvin, Tocchet. And then secondly, should we be expecting news about Rick Tocchet going forward here, at least before the end of the season?
Easier to give him an extension before he's won the Jack Adams, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it's a close race, I think, with who to credit the most for between Allvin. I guess I give the credit to the GM for the moves. Of course, Rutherford's fingerprints are on everything as well. I probably would have to side with Rick Tocchet, though. Just the messaging, even just the messaging going into the offseason, which we kind of snickered at with, it's a big summer for this guy, it's a big summer for that guy, big summer for that guy. You look at Brock Besser, clearly something changed over the summer. This is a different guy that came back in September than who left in before the season ended. He also got Besser, wanting to play for the Vancouver Canucks again before, that was before the turnaround. He freely admitted that he no longer wanted to be traded. So I think you've got a lot of those kind of guys. Garland, reportedly wanted out, and he somehow got him buying into playing on a third line. Normally a guy like Garland, if you want out and you get stuck on the third line and you're playing second unit power play, which rarely gets to play. Normally a guy like that gets a bit sour, but somehow he found a way to get him to buy in. Still this defense core, it's improved, but it wasn't that improved on paper. I don't think. I think a lot of the, we have to credit a lot of the structure and the habits and all the buzzwords, but I think it's paid off. So I'm crediting Tocchet, and I wrote about it this week. I think he's due for a big raise. He makes $2.75 million. Not every coach's salary is publicly available. I looked at what Cap Friendly had available. The highest coach's salary they have listed, Todd McClellan, which surprised me, at $5 million. But Rick Tocchet's only got 1 year left on his contract after this season. I don't think you want to go into next year with a quote unquote lame duck head coach. And certainly Tocchet has deserved a big bump in pay. So I think we could see him get a nice raise on what he currently makes.
Less worry about that contract situation than there is about Elias Pettersson's, I think. And yet, our poll question yesterday, there's still over 40% people saying they're not worried at all about the Elias Pettersson situation. But you're a man of the people. What do you think is happening out there? All this optimism on the ice, but this amazing stretch of games in particular for Elias Pettersson is people thinking, okay, just make sure that this can happen in years to come.
Yeah, I don't sense panic necessarily, but I feel like people are getting nervous now, right? Like, and I thought, the interview that Allvin did with Ian McIntyre, people are really starting to read into different quotes from Allvin, and in some ways I get it. He's asked point blank, like, do you think he wants to be here? And he didn't get a straight answer back. He didn't get like a yes. But at the same time, like, Allvin, he's slippery in the media, right? Like, he doesn't like to give definitive headline catching quotes, right? So I think we have to sort of grade it on that scale of Allvin doesn't like to give bold responses to questions like that. So, but at the same time, I do get it, because we have been given no indication that Pettersson wants to necessarily re-sign with the Canucks. It's not like, oh, it's just a matter of time. It's a lot of wait and see, and it's a lot of this may be nothing. It may just be waited out. And certainly this is a fantastic negotiating ploy, because don't you just feel like the Canucks will just back up the Brinks truck and give him whatever he wants now?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even with the fan base, prior to the summer, I think people were like, wow, does he deserve 11 million, or does he deserve this, or does he deserve that? And like, now I think people are just like, just give the man whatever he wants. Just keep him in Vancouver. So it's a great negotiating ploy. But on the other hand, if he did want out, isn't this how you would act? You just say, I don't want to talk, don't want to talk, don't want to talk. Because you don't want to say, I want out, but you just would push it off. So that's the part that I think that people are rightly nervous about, that if he does want out, this is how someone would act in that scenario.
Well, especially, Rob, in that I think a lot of Canucks fans at the beginning of the year sort of understood the world from his shoes, but now it's like, the team's winning, man. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Now it just feels like a more rejection's the wrong word. It's too strong. He hasn't rejected it yet, but now it feels like, why don't you love us?
People have responded to us, Rob, saying he said that he wants to be here. And I think about that. And I think, when's the last time we've heard anything from Elias Pettersson along the lines of, it's just a negotiation. I really want to be here. I think we're probably due for one of those statements from Elias Pettersson if he wants to quell any of this worry, don't you?
And I think that reaction is also part of the nerves. I think people are scared of the Vancouver media pushing him away, right? I think that people are they're scared of anything to turn him off. They don't want anybody, he's not, he doesn't love the media aspect of it. He doesn't necessarily embrace that part of it. He does it, he participates, but I don't think that that's necessarily, that's something we talked about when it was time to pick a captain. I think he necessarily loves speaking to the media and answering all these different questions. And I think that's maybe a worry as well, is when the Vancouver media starts talking about Elias's, his contract and whether he wants to be there. It's like, oh no, is this going to scare him away? I think that's maybe going a little too far. Like he's a National Hockey League player. he's in the public eye. I think that these are fair things to.
And ultimately, words are words. Johnny Gaudreau said he wanted to stay, and we know how that panned out. So, I mean, words are just words at the end of the day. So, who knows?
Lastly, Rob, best off-season edition, as we're just past the halfway point. Who would you vote for?
Yeah, I mean, one of the answers I thought that Allvin was a little bit more straightforward with was, like what offseason, or which one of his additions did he really kind of, focus in on that he thought was the, maybe his best one, and he kind of singled out Teddy Blueger, and it's interesting. I thought that was an interesting answer because I hadn't really thought it, and I thought, well, yeah, in some ways, yes. Like I think the overall additions on defense have been really important. I think Ian Cole is one, but I think the guy that probably drew the most headlines when they made all those moves on July 1st was Carson Soucy. And Soucy, has played third pair minutes. He's been injured. He's missed about half the games. Blueger's missed some time as well, but I thought also Pius Suter overshadowed that addition. I think many people pegged Suter to be the third line center and then pushing Blueger down to the fourth line. Blueger's on pace for a career best year offensively right now. He's and of course on that fantastic line with Garland and Dakota Joshua. I think there's for me it's a neck and neck between Cole and Blueger, and those are also two of their most used penalty killers as well. But I thought that was an interesting answer from Allvin.
And funny, Lafferty leads the new additions in points at 19. Cole leads in minutes per game, of course, as a defenseman. He's playing more than Carson Soucy, and Blueger with 30 points, Blueger with 18 points, Suter with 12, both having played 30 games. So that's a real derby there.
And don't forget Casey DeSmith as well, guys.
Right, of course.
He's right behind Demko in terms of save percentage. Like they have not missed a beat when DeSmith has been in that.
Mm-hmm. Rob, amazing stuff. Thank you for this. We'll catch up next Thursday.
Thank you.
This clip brought to you by Betway. Must be 19 plus to play. Please play responsibly.